Philosophy is an intellectual pursuit. Philosophers look at the most universal notions and try to evaluate them. Philosophy takes a critical and methodical approach to concepts such as God, soul, reality, causation, and so on. Unlike sciences, which have a clear method for arriving at truth, there is no single philosophical method that all philosophers employ. With that, this video will attempt to examine some of the methods of philosophizing in the West and the East. But what is method in the sphere of philosophy? A method is a systematic approach to obtaining truth or determining the answers to philosophical questions. Let's begin with some of the Western methods of philosophizing. The Socratic method is the first one I'll discuss to you. Socrates, the Greek philosopher, was the inspiration for this method. Socratic method is a type of theological debate between people that usually takes the form of asking and answering questions and leads to critical thinking to arrive at new ideas and underlying presuppositions. And this philosophical method has five qualities. The first is that it is skeptical. This means that one must apply skepticism when using the Socratic method. However, this skepticism is conditional and temporary rather than absolute. In other words, admitting one's ignorance is a starting point for finding out the truth. To realize this quality, one will ask the other questions that will lead the former to learn something. The second quality is that it is theological or conversational. Socrates believes that truth can be established by asking and answering questions. He believed that genuine participation in a debate that aided in the clarifying of ideas may lead to truth. The third quality is that it is conceptual and definitional. The purpose of knowledge, according to this method, is to realize the definition of a notion. In other words, the first two qualities, skepticism and conversational, should lead to the realization of a concept's definition. It is inductive or empirical, which is the fourth quality. Socratic method does not end with the realizations of a concept's definition, but it consistently criticized conditional definitions based on specific instances or occurrences, implying that tentative meanings and conceptions were put to the test in relation to common lived experience. Finally, the Socratic method is deductive. It begins its intellectual journey with a given description and intellectual concept, then constructs and examines its implications. Hence, the Socratic method is a philosophical method in which the process takes precedence over the answer. The method takes precedence over the question posed. The Cartesian method, otherwise known as the universal methodic doubt, was introduced by René Descartes and is another well-known method of philosophizing in the West. Descartes was not only a philosopher, but also a mathematician. Descartes was inspired by the mathematic certitude, because simple mathematical propositions like 1 plus 1 equals 2 are universally accepted as true. It is self-evident and indubitable. With that, he desired to construct a self-evident foundation of truth in philosophy. His methodical doubt's basic assumption is that one should only embrace notions that appear to be clearly and noticeably true. In philosophy, he contends that because our senses often deceive us, we lack such self-evident principles. Hence, we could be dreaming, hallucinating, or being deceived by an evil genius. With that, he cast doubt on everything and developed a method known as the universal methodic doubt or the Cartesian method. This method, however, is merely a heuristic device to arrive at truth. While doubting everything, he discovered that everything except one may be doubted. But what exactly is it? He cannot doubt that he is doubting. Since doubting is a way of thinking, he was able to conclude that cogito ergo sum, or I think, therefore I am. The fact that he is thinking, it follows that he exists. That is a self evident and an indubitable truth. This universal methodic doubt even became his foundation in proving other philosophical propositions such as the existence of God, etc. In the Eastern world, China and India are well known for their philosophical contributions. In addition, when compared to Western philosophies, their philosophies are vastly different in its approach. The Taoist philosophy of yin and yang is at the center of this difference. Yin and yang are the two polarities of an entity, the bottom and the top, the inside and the outside. Yang signifies activity, brightness, the sky above or heaven, while yin represents rest, darkness, the ground below or earth. Everything in the universe is a balance of yin and yang. In nature, the moon is yin while the sun is yang. In the society, the emperor is yang while the obedient followers are yin. Something can, however, be both yin and yang. There's no such thing as pure yin and yang. Everything in this world is related. In respect to the obedient followers, the emperor can only be a yang, but in relation to the king, he can only be a yin. The ability of yin and yang to turn into each other is another key feature. Yin becomes yang and yang becomes yin. Take note of the yin-yang symbol. The yang is represented by the little dot in the black swirl, which is the yin. That location represents the yang seed in the yin and vice versa. The yin gradually manifests as the yang diminishes and vice versa. Incorporating that analogy into our daily lives, sleeping and waking up are part of our daily routine. We wake up today, sleep at night, and repeat the process the next day. Another point to consider is that everything in Taoism is qi, which basically means energy. Everything in this world is qi, which manifests in various forms and moves in varied ways as yin and yang, like thinking, moving, resting, working, absorbing, releasing. Because chi is present in everything, the human and cosmic relationships are very much intertwined. Humans are one with the universe. Everything that occurs in the universe has an impact on man, and everything that man does has an impact on the universe. Therefore, comprehending the truth entails comprehending the Tao or the manner of doing anything. So, what is the Eastern method of understanding truth? It is by striving to achieve balance in everything. A balance between thinking and moving, resting and working, absorbing and releasing. To synthesize, reflecting on the differences between Western and Eastern philosophies, we may realize that both use distinct methods to arrive at truth. Also, though we share their viewpoints when it comes to truth, neither of both has exclusive access to truth. Philosophizing is a highly personal experience because we all look at truth differently and utilize different methods to get at truth. Whatever glimpse of the truth we obtain will always be partial and distinct from each other. There is no absolute method in arriving at truth, and nobody has the absolute answer to everything. That is why we must continuously engage with others to help us evaluate what we perceive as truth. Thank you so much for accompanying me again on this learning journey. I hope that you have learned something relevant out from our discussion. For more video content, please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and share my videos. Until next time.